Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I'm your Loremaster, here today for another guide video, and one of the first ones post-Galactic Magic at that. As I was going through Galactic Magic, I found a few interesting tidbits on the gods that we already knew, and ones we didn't, but that has nothing to do with today's topic. My point is, I knew the first thing I wanted to do was to talk about one of the minor deities in that. Doubly so since I am well aware we'll be going through all of the main deities of Golarion well before we get any more full write-ups of Starfinder, setting aside the upcoming one for Desna, of course. So, two very exciting choices were presented to me. However, I was not sure if Loremaster was going to be among the killer deities we got in last month's Primordial Flame back matter, and I knew I still would not have a chance to check myself before starting research for this video, so looks like the lucky drunk went out. So let's get our fill of Cayden Cailean, god of freedom, ale, wine, and bravery. So as per tradition, let's start by seeing where you can find information on the lucky drunk himself. First round, both first and second edition have their own Gods of Magic book, which offers but a taste of the full thing. The first actual stiff drink comes from the second book of the Second Darkness adventure path, titled The Children of the Void. Of course, another round of the same can be found in the book Inner Sea Faiths. Then we have 5 quick shots, one right after the other. Paths of the Righteous, Faiths of Purity, Divine Anthology, Plain Adventures, and a brand new flavor to grace our lips, Weapons Master's Handbook. A book I should have mentioned already, but that is a mistake I admit to later. Finally, a chaser, Galactic Magic, where the minor god will likely lack a full write-up for a while, so we will get a quick look at his future now. There are many stories about the lucky drunk. The first and most famous is how he, on a drunken dare, stumbled into the Starstone Cathedral, a place where many had gone in, but only one had ever come out. He woke up 3 days later, a god, with no idea how he pulled it off. There's a storytelling tradition known as the 1,000 Songs of Starstone, which give guesses about the kind of trials he faced, but none of the people writing them actually took the trials themselves, so that aside, there was also the tale of him facing off against a Duke of Hell, Salicotl, a devil of wine, where they had a duel of dares, each daring the other to do something outrageous, with the devil forcing the former adventurer to risk himself, and the drunk forcing the fiend to humiliate himself. Salicotl's patience snapped first, and he tried to attack Cayden Cailean directly, only to find the god was still much stronger than him. The devil lost his wings that day, to have them made into devil-slaying arrows. So starting off, how does the man look? Well, like he did in life. He is your average man, hair kind of messy, in need of a shave. His skin bronzed from both his talent heritage and from being out in the sun. He never leaves home without his chainmail and a full tankard. Not, he looks pretty much the same, with a small addition, he is usually gone fighting off legion of demons with a rapier. Still holding his tankard because he might need a good drink after that's over. But doing. One other common artistic choice is that he is often drawn with wooden shackles, in many cases symbolizing how he broke free from his bonds as a mere mortal. In places with a high rate of slavery, tends to mean a little more. So, what are kinds of things Cayden Cailean is known for doing, and what does he expect from his followers? First, as a deity of bravery, he encourages followers to take risks. Not, this is a bad idea, I am going to die, levels of risk, but to have one march ahead, despite the perceived difficulty. He is, of course, the god of alcohol. He's not a fan of mean or spiteful drunks, nor is he that great when it comes to sad drunks. He works to liven up a person's life with after a hard day, and encourages one to drink with friends. In life, he always turned down jobs which were against his morals, and he encourages followers to do similar. Ideas of cohesion and unified doctrine be damned. And this love of freedom also connects to a hatred of slavery. He also believes people should be paid for every job and hates people who cheap out. Though payment does come in many forms, not just coin, but a tall drink or a fun little night. One more thing to note before we move on. His full name is Cayden Cailean. No one knows why he kept his last name when he became a god. One of the leading theories is that it is done in order to honor the orphanage that raised him, and indeed in response his church is big on helping orphans. But if this is the actual reason, Cayden must say his name every time Cailean refuses to say. So, who are the followers of Cayden Cailean? Well, mostly just the common folks. Those who want a little more to drink with some friends, and the courage to stand up to evil if it ever needs to get their hands dirty. Of course, those who make and sell alcohol love him. He's also favored among good adventurers, or guides and explorers who do pretty much the same thing, with a little less skill. He is also popular among half elves, and dwarfs tend not to worship him, but they'll toast him for the good drink. There are many people who bear his name, but this is because, as one who takes care of orphans, many orphans take on the name Cailean when they strike out on their own. Of course, there are a few organizations which bear him praise. The Starstone Brewers is one chief among them. They work to teach people how to make ale. And while they do, they work as problem solvers, detectives, and others as people need to have everyday good deeds done. Oh, and of course, they adopt orphans. Which actually brings us to our first side tangent today. The part of the show where we refill your glass with knowledge. Today, we have another specialized prestige class to followers of a good aligned deity, the Brewkeepers. The Brewkeepers are worshippers of Cayden Cailean who are good enough at what they do that their alcohol is as well made as an alchemist's extracts. They have the power to distill their spell slots into cups of ale, allowing them, especially if they do not start as alchemists, to hold spell slots as items, and, something one normally could not do in 1E, give them to others to enjoy. It also allows one to spike the drink, allowing it to empower an ally who drinks it further, or to further debilitate an enemy who gets into bombing range. Eventually, one can learn how to increase the power of the drinks with a chaser, or mix drinks so fast they seem to appear out of thin air. Now on to priests. Well, I believe the first thing to mention is that they are known to swear like a sailor, which I believe is a good starting point of someone working to get an idea of them. But more importantly is that the church has no official hierarchy. Mostly just look at leaving it to individual priests to make their own decisions, or to solve their own problems. After all, why wait for a council of priests to make some decision months down the road, when the first one to find a problem can make their own decisions now? Therefore, priests can be found doing, well, anything. Some crusade against evil, some work to make or sell alcohol, some might be mediators in small communities, and some might explore the world. That said, there are two things priests are known for. The first, high alcohol tolerance. No explanation there. The second, daring duels. Like their deity, they love taking dares and are known to, for fun, challenge each other to more and more difficult tests. However, if this does ever get out of hand, they have the perfect release valve. challenging the editor to the test of the Starstone. This ends with both of them laughing and at a round of drinks, with neither losing any face. Most shrines and temples of Cayden Cailean double as ale halls. Who am I kidding? Most of his temples are ale halls, just with special sign out front showing the appreciation for the guy. Inns and feast halls too, but there is not one which is not a place where alcohol flows. And then there is this one side room where they can go and pray to the big man. There are also good aligned places, of course. So most of the proceeds which are not spent on upkeep go to the community, the poor, to free slaves, and to an adventurer who is really going to need it. Next up we have his Divine Realm. Well, Hillshawk is one of the newest realms in Elysium. It also happens to be one of the easiest to find, always seeming to put itself on the path for travelers. This has led to most mapmakers placing the town in the center. It's a place which welcomes all who travel down the lonely road, who need a place to sleep, to drink, to eat. I should probably also mention sex is also a possibility. Oh, and fighting. If you want a friendly fist fight, which ends with the two sides sharing ale, this is your place. But just as famous is the field around it, the place known as the Field of Battle. Here, people compete. It's not even a matter in what. If you can turn something into a competition, you can find yourself enjoying the place. Some of the challenges come from Cayden Cailean himself, but just as many come from Azada's and Cayden Cailean's Herald. You need to see it every time. Now, the time for miscellaneous facts. First, where is Cayden Cailean's worship the strongest? Of course, all the Ascended have a strong presence in Absalom. In addition, being of Talda descent, he is worshipped in Talda. Ender and Galt and the River Kingdoms were formerly part of Talda, but it is his call for freedom which makes these strong centers of his worship. Speaking of freedom, just a little farther away, both Viserion and the Shackles have adopted him as their own. There are 3 holy days in his church. First, the 11th of Kuthon is his Ascension Day, his god birthday. Second, the first brewing is a celebration of the harvest of some of the first drinks being consumed in celebration. Finally, third, Merry Mead is a day set aside for the old mead being given away so new mead may have somewhere to be stored away. Needless to say, it's a national pub crawl day. As for his holy book, well, he's not the kind of man who likes giving others orders, so his text is simply the placard of wisdom, something one hangs on a wall of taverns with simple rules like do good, enjoy life, stand up for what you believe in, stay in school, pay taxes. I did the last two, but I believe I highlighted my point. And speaking of books, let's look at our old friend Divine Anthology, Side Tangent number 2. We have talked twice before about the majestic book of the Prime Ascended, and their interesting takes on the humans that have ascended to godhood. Under its designation, Cayden Cailean stands as a Prime Gallant. This focuses on how, both before and after Ascension, Cayden played the part of the hero, always helping those in need and charging forward into risk. Actually, this is the chapter of the book which reads the most like the actual religious practice. True, there's less drinking mentioned, but overall it's just a more focused form of his normal faith. Either way, this particular chapter of the book is popular in both Anduin and the Shackles. No need to explain either of those. And right next we have our third side tangent, where I admit I messed up recently. I was so used to the 10 divine fighting styles in Divine Anthology, I did not realize that the book Weapons Master's Handbook also had fighting styles in them. These ones unrelated to any books or lore. guess we can send Go on a reservation for this year's errata video. But today, Cayden Cailean has his turn to shine. The fighting style is simply named Blade and Tankard, and it features a fighting. It specializes in teaching one to fight like the lucky drunk, with one hand preoccupied with ale. This allows one to master the ways of using the ale as an offhand weapon, with the ability to be used as an incendiary trick. Oh, and let's not forget the advanced trick of filling the mug with potion, so you can gulp them without needing to dig into your pockets. Cheers. Now, on to other gods and his other allies. Son of gods, he's on good terms with Shaelin, Senrei, and Desna, ever the womanizer. There's even a rumor the god Kurgus is a child with Desna, but no definite proof of such has ever been presented. He also gets on the rail with Tureg, plus and alcohol and whatnot. Astal and Irori are both too stuffy for his taste, and Abdar cares more about the system than the people, so he's on the shit list. He also enjoys having times with Calistria, but he is used to being used by her enough that to commit to any actual alliance beyond one-night stands is not going to happen. As a heroic god, he had to learn to hold in his temper around the evil ones, though his one exception is Asmodeus. Any chance he has to get one over on the Archdevil is a good day. For his allies, first is Little Thunderer. Thunder, being the dog Cayden Cailean had in life, and who brought to Elysium after attaining godhood. All of the Elysium dog breed known as K-hounds are children of the original Mastiff, but Little Thunder is Cayden Cailean's favorite. We have Luthier, the Knight of the Vineyard, a minstrel dressed as a knight. He looks every bit of drunk, until he enters battle with evil. Then he acts as every bit of knight he appears not to be. Valon, Spirit of Spirits, is the ghost of a priest who had his body destroyed by historic knowledge. He believes beer is the greatest of mankind's achievements, and will often possess willing worshippers to go for a drink. And finally, Cayden Cailean's herald is Theas. She was once a friend of Cayden Cailean's in life, and a friend. She was a prostitute, but she was more than that to the lucky drunk. When he rose, whether it was due to their friendship, as a way to pay his tab, she was made his herald, and a personification of freedom and courage. She has been the lover of deities like Nethys, Calistria, and the big man Eridan himself. And she is a fierce fighter, even holding her own against Asmodeus, though she ended up getting away with only 5 wings instead of 6. Now, a final side tangent. It's Starfinder. It's going to be a common thing with some god videos in the near future. There are those gods who have gone the way of Golarion and disappeared in the distant future, which are the ones I have mostly gone through. I'm just missing Irori. There are those gods which are main deities and deserve a whole separate video Starfinder-wise, which I am putting off as long as possible. And then there are ones like Cayden Cailean, who will probably get little more than the half the page we have already, and will be coverable as side tangents like this. So, as the first of such, where is Cayden Cailean in the future? Well, a better place than he was. There have always been the mythic god high unknowing what they actually know attitude with a lot of topics. But Cayden Cailean's never been like that, and he rarely admits that he knows as much about the gap as any mortal does. And that screwed him up bad. To the point he went from happy drunk to full alcoholism. The reason he lost his spot as a main god is because he became so unreliable people left his faith in droves. But just like every other monster he faced, Cayden eventually fought back, and he won. He still has a long way to go to redeem himself in many people's eyes, but he has changed for the better. First, he has expanded from adventurers and taverns and has gained authority into happy gatherings of all kinds. Every loud party to every quiet family game night. He also has made his renewed faith one that helps people who are like him, sufferers of substance abuse and self-destructive tendencies. Though in the fact his faith is still one which makes active stands against bigotry and xenophobia, he has once again found many flocking to his faith, and this time he will not take it for granted. And that is today's video. Again, now that Galactic Magic is out, my soft embargo on some gods who became minor is over, with the major ones to be added afterwards. Getting full of Starfighter write-ups for Desna soon, as she is probably not going to have a video until sometime next year. After I have already done some of the minor NSC deities probably. Which is one of my favorites, so that's kind of a shame. But what are you going to do? Either way, I'll see you all next week. Have a good one.